Hey everyone, welcome. I want to introduce my friend. It's called Pete. He's a real biohacker. I've known him for, I think it's 2 or 3 years now, right?
I think at least, yeah. It's
like
been a while.
Yeah, like a Instagram friend, internet friend. It's like it is in the modern age. So basically, you're a biohacker, and now you become a professional biohacker. We could say you start a company called PEMFiT.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a biohacker. I don't know whether you'd be interested in my brief story, but
It would be interesting.
why I became a biohacker, but very briefly. So I'm in my 50s now, but when I was in my mid to late teens, all through school, I was the athlete. I was a sprinter, the jumper, the runner, the thrower. I won everything, and anything past 400 meters, somebody else. But I was very sporty, very strong, and it just came natural. And from probably around 15, Daniel, my age of 15 or 16, I started getting weird aches, pains, mainly in the kind of gut area. And at first I didn't say anything to my parents. I just would kind of lay down and wake up the following morning, and these things would go. And ignored it. But gradually I found I could do less and less of the things that I really enjoyed doing. So, sprinting and playing tennis and, throwing things. And anyway, I then, obviously, you end up paying a visit to the doctors, and that kind of started a cycle of 30 years, just over 30 years of decline of my health, whereby lots of testing, lots of procedures that then led to operations, some of them quite serious. So I think when I was 21, I had a full laparotomy, so opened up, everything taken out from my gut. Oh, there's nothing wrong with you. And put it all back. But I never really recovered from that, from that traumatic surgery. And then medications and everything really is from eczema to, being told, look, in my early 20s, you've got something called yuppie flu, it's now called CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome. It's recognized. And the guy that told me, he said, look, I don't personally, a lot of us don't believe in it. He said, but we think it's yuppie flu. And then, other diagnoses such as fibromyalgia, thyroid issues, Hashimoto, you name it really. And, some really quite serious things. I had silent reflux, LPR, it's known as. So it's all it is reflux, but you don't get heartburn. I don't know whether you've heard of this.
Yeah, I've heard about it.
Yeah, it's a silent killer. I mean, it's a real problem in North America because you don't know you have it, and of course, all the while you are refluxing these very acidic molecules and compounds which are meant to be kept down there. And of course, I was on proton pump inhibitors, all of the PPIs for a long time. You read the packet on this thing, it's don't take these for more than a few weeks. I was on these for years, double dose together with all the other things. And twice I was sent to the local hospital with suspected esophageal cancer, which is, as I'm sure you know, is absolutely something you do not want. Yeah. And this was only 5 years ago, but this was the turning point for me to have a word with myself and say, look, Pete, you've got to do something here, because you've stuck with this advice for just over 30 years. I'm now, there don't appear to be any more answers, because I'm saying, well, look, where do we go from here? Well, you're already on maximum dose of this, maximum dose of that. We'll see what we can do. But there was clearly nowhere to go. My background career-wise, and this is in a former life, because I'm now in the biohacking and health and wellness sphere, but in my former life, if you were, I started my career in mechanical engineering. So And then gradually that turned into working in automotive industry, and then that kind of morphed into coaching and training, and global coaching and training, and automotive management consultancy.
Mm.
I suppose both of those, we had a problem. I had to work out what the problem was. So, you know, what's causing this? Let's fix the problem. And I suppose naturally that took me down the functional medicine route. It just seemed logical. So around 2015, start of 2016, I took a big decision because I realized I was dying slowly, kind of a death by 1,000 cuts, dying, you know, nothing acute, but lots of things. And it was draining my energy. I wasn't sleeping. I looked terrible. And I was trying as hard as I could. So I quit my job. I worked at the time for a big German, very successful luxury brands at the time. And I quit my job and I thought, I'm going to try and work out for myself what was going wrong. I think that over the period of about 3 months, I read, I think 24 books. It was something like that. And I just devoured information and went down as many rabbit holes as I thought looked relevant to me to try and work out what was going on. And what then happened was fascinating for me, because changes started happening, and they started happening really quickly. And it almost wasn't me that realized that. It was people around me. So I remember going to a family party and I'm chatting with my brother, and I probably was only a month into what I was doing, which for me at the time seemed really odd. So for instance, I was eating lots of fat. I was eating lots of saturated fat.
Yeah.
I was experimenting with ketosis. I'd stopped going to the gym and doing what to me didn't feel right for my body. So cardio work, and at certain times of the day after a long day when I was already stressed, and then I'd finish my session at maybe 9 o'clock with the instructor, and then I'd go back home and I couldn't sleep. So I changed all that, and I started spending more time outside, touching the ground, awareness of things like circadian rhythm and frequencies of light, and how that impacted on my biochemistry, my ability to, you know, build serotonin during the day and convert to melatonin and have a good night's sleep. And all of this stuff was fascinating to me, being a kind of a curious soul and wanting to work the problem. And I suppose here I am 4 or 5 years later, still as passionate as I was then, and I hope I always will be, because as you know, I know you're equally passionate about these things as I am. I follow you and we're all learning from each other. Oh, that looks interesting.
That's what's amazing, the community.
Yeah. So, you know, part of the joy of life, I think, is you never know it all, and let's keep learning and keep improving. And what may be right for me is maybe definitely not right for you or the next person that walks into the PEMFiT studio. So, but that was my journey. And then I thought, okay, you know, I'm helping now global automotive manufacturers, you know, produce more products, sell more products. And, you know, I'm spending a lot of time in places I loved, and it was an incredible journey to go to many parts of the world, which I'm very now fond of, South Africa, and you know, working in Italy and Germany and Japan and China, Thailand, Singapore. I had an amazing time, because whilst I was biohacking and sorting my own health, my self-employed role as an independent automotive consultant took off, and people seemed to be drawn to the new energy that I had. And inevitably people say, how have you got so much energy? It's kind of 6 o'clock. I've not seen you eat anything. You're focused. Are you always in such a good mood? You know, things like that. You know how it is.
Yeah, I know exactly. It's so fun to hear this story.
Yeah. And then I'm working in all of these businesses and working with them to try and identify the challenges and put in place processes that may help them be more productive, improve quality, whatever. And the healthier I got, the more I reclaimed my health and my energy. Inevitably, you look around, and I'm sure, absolutely sure, that anybody that's tuning into to this show has noticed this. You look around the world around you, and you think, my goodness, everybody is struggling.
Yeah.
Everybody is struggling to get through the afternoon. Yeah. They're struggling to make it to lunchtime because they've done something, they've started their day off in a less than optimal way. And I'm thinking, there must be a way to help people to learn some of the things that we know, which are really simple little hacks.
Yeah.
To improve their enjoyment in life, their productivity, their company's error reduction, absenteeism, mood and energy, creativity within an organization. So I kind of played around with that a little bit, and then I thought, well, look, what's helped me? And I was very much a generalist biohacker. So I think, like yourself, Daniel, we love to experiment. We dig into the data.
Yeah.
And where are we getting the ROIs? And I think I tried everything I can see, or I could afford, or I had access to.
Yeah.
And I ended up looking around maybe 6 months ago and thought, I now have an incredible, my health, I would never say I'm kind of where I want to be, because I'm always trying to improve and optimize and work on in a particular area.
Yeah.
But where did I get the most return on my investment of my time, my enjoyment, whilst I'm taking part in any of these modalities, and also how much does it cost me? How easy is it to implement into my day? And I kept coming back to these energy medicine modalities. Sauna has been huge for me. I know in Northern Europe, in Sweden, in Finland, in Germany, all of the Northern European, you're huge fans of sauna.
Yeah.
In the UK, we don't sauna that much. Some people do and love it, but we are very much a minority, which is growing. And the hot and the cold thermogenesis. I'm very fortunate to live by many natural bodies of water. So I have the sea, 100 meters from my front door. I have an outdoor shower with an excellent grounding surface, natural grounding surface, and we have lots of lakes. I live in the sort of South Lake district in the UK. So we have access to a lot of nature. And it also dawned on me, look, we're just recreating nature in a therapeutic way, anything. And I always come back to this ancestral wisdom. And I'm a student of Mark Sisson's Primal Health Coach Institute.
Yeah.
Who's got, I think, a huge amount of credibility within this space.
Yeah, I love him. He's done great work, I think, with his Primal Coach program and everything.
Yeah, and that's it. And for me, it always came back to primal wisdom, to ancestral wisdom. What does nature do? And when I went outside, I felt better. When I go inside, I didn't feel as good.
Yeah.
And clearly, I was flipping all those negative sides of my, the epigenetic side of health. My makeup is like this. My microbiome is like this, and my environment, the terrain I'm operating in, is not compatible. So here we are, I'm in the UK, it's 2020. How do we mitigate the things doing us harm, amplify the things that are good? And PEMFiT was born because I thought, I'm going to take these things that I can give a client a high return on their investment. And I think the number one asset is increasingly time. You know, we're all busy.
Yeah.
We have busy jobs, we have busy family lives. When most countries get back to normal, we'll hopefully have busy social lives.
Yeah.
And you know, if I'm not feeling great, then how can I get a great return? How can I walk in somewhere and without having to go perhaps to the trouble that we have gone to? Because we are outliers in the wellness space. Not everybody is going to do what you, I, and I'm sure most, if not all of the people tuning into the podcast would be prepared to do. So how do we improve our energy? And my vision is just very simple: to energize life. That's my vision. And the mission, which I've set out, really is to do it to disrupt the wellness space within my market, where we deliver a high return on investment for that individual, and they can walk in here feeling maybe a bit tired, maybe an ache of pain, brain fog, you name it, and walk out feeling better than they did and feel a lasting effect on them. So this is where PEMFiT came from. It's obviously a play on words, the technology, and my core product is PEMF. And I like to think, well, okay, you're not feeling great, PEMFiT. So it's a bit of a play on words, and I like that the word fit is in there. It's not a word I use particularly. I prefer the word health.
So you want to explain for the listeners about PEMF, what it is in general?
Yeah, sure. So PEMF, this is different to, I think most people when they hear the word EMF, we think, oh gosh, this is bad, and that is for the most part true. So again, back to my point earlier, which is, you know, recreating nature, or ideally experiencing nature, you know, swimming in the sea, being in a natural body of water, obtaining the free electrons from the ground, getting those photons on your skin, daylight in your eyes, building vitamin D, and you know, improving our circadian rhythm, living more with nature. But we can't always do that. You know, it's a busy world. We're living in many cases in concrete jungles, and this is not easy. So the Earth is putting out these EMFs all day, every day, and these are pulsed. So these are electromagnetic fields, hence the EMF. Is an interesting fact, but lightning strikes the Earth somewhere between 9 million and 10 or 11 million times a day around the globe. And this is high voltage. This is high voltage energy striking the Earth, charging the core, and then the space between the core and the ionosphere puts out a pulsed electromagnetic field. And I'm sure many people listening to this will know that the main frequency for that is called the Schumann resonance. It was discovered a few decades ago by, I think, Professor Schumann. This is 7.8 hertz. So a hertz, just to be clear for the listeners, is a frequency. And if you think of a frequency as a wave, the peak of the wave and the trough of the wave, how many of those waves come along? So if I throw a stone into a lake here and we see these waves, how many waves, complete waves, will we get within 1 second? And this is where the term hertz comes from. This is how we measure it. It's also known with some of the technology that I work with from pulse centers as pulses per second.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing. And within the world of PEMF, there are, and I think this is why it's a little bit undiscovered, because it is quite technical. So we have, first of all, the energy, and this is usually with PEMF is measured in Gauss. So, and if you get enough Gauss, then you get up to Tesla, and we measure in Gauss and less commonly Tesla.
Magnetic field.
These are magnetic fields, exactly. So, so these are EMFs, these are electromagnetic fields. Now, compared with the bad ones that we hear about, which if you read WHO guidelines, you know, for things like a cell phone, a mobile phone, it will say, look, don't put this to your head. And we do class it, I think it's a class B2 carcinogen.
Yeah.
So these are working at the completely opposite end of the spectrum. So I'm working here predominantly with frequencies of 1 to 10 hertz. Okay, so super low. And these are resonant with, I was going to say human biology, but the biology of life. And if you remove these frequencies, life ends.
Yeah.
When the cosmonaut program, they sent Yuri Gagarin up into space, and they realized something was wrong, because he started almost immediately suffering from mental health issues. And they actually, interestingly, had this technology because it was kind of developed in Eastern Europe and Russia around 60, 70 years ago. It was theorized by Nikolai Tesla.
Yeah.
Over 100 years ago. He really understood frequencies and vibrations, as did people like Albert Einstein. And, you know, they know this is the secret of life. This is energy. But instead now we have a lot of this electro smog through Wi-Fi routers, through our mobile phones, through our power supply, all this AC energy. We are a DC, we're direct current. And PEMF devices, the battery ones work on DC, obviously, and the plug-in mains ones will convert that AC into DC. So this is magnetic pulses, which are resonant with biology. When we apply them to a human being, a cat, a dog, a horse, then our bodies recognize these things, and they use that energy essentially to recharge the mitochondria. And we can perhaps talk more about that later on. But does that kind of explain, is that clear what PEMF is? So we use a device to recreate a natural frequency in a pulsed magnetic form, which is we've coexisted with for millions of years. Sadly, now we don't touch the ground as much. I mean, I've got no shoes on now, and I tend to walk around outside most of the time without shoes. But for 40 odd years of my life, I can't remember touching the ground that much.
yeah, it's true. It's true.
I think what's interesting, Daniel, having had to research the subject, and if you were kind of maybe 100, 120, 150 years ago, if you got sick and you could afford a physician services, they would probably send you to a spa. They would probably send you to the coast, to the beach, to a lake.
Yeah.
And they would tell you to relax, to take in the sun, to forget about business and stresses and strains, to lay on the ground, to bathe in the waters. And this is grounding. And PEMF is a giant grounding device.
Yeah, I love it. I've been using it, I think, for like 2 or 3 years. I have this small ISIS pulse machine.
Oh, yeah.
9-volt DC battery.
Yeah.
I bought it for I did surgery. I had a hernia, and I was like, okay, how can I heal faster, and how can I find some interesting methods for doing that? And then I stumbled into PEMF and the ISIS device, and I found it quite interesting. And I used that together with red light therapy and everything. And I mean, after a couple of weeks, the doctor was actually pretty like, wow, you have healed good. I mean, I cannot say for sure it's because of that, but it felt pretty.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm using it on my gut for vagus nerve stimulation. I use it on my head if I have like afternoon crash, or I think it's very nice technology.
Yeah.
And I tried your technology on in the health optimization summit, and I must say that was something extra. I mean, that was when you talk about ROI.
Yeah.
I really understand what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating, Daniel, that, I mean, I think you're one of the few people in this space that has really experimented and really used PEMF as a tool, and that you own your own device. And I'm familiar with the, I think this is a Dr. Bob Dennis device, isn't it? And he's a fascinating guy, because, I have some books and I've read a lot of his material. He conducted a 4-year study from NASA on PEMF. So that's the biggest study, continuous study ever on PEMF. And I think it came to America way after Europe, Central Europe, Eastern Europe, who've been using it for decades. And they were using it on, as I mentioned before, in the space program.
Yeah.
They were using it in sports for athletes, for Olympic athletes, to recover quickly, and improve their training frequency and the intensity of the training. I have a guy here today working on the studio. He's just outside, and he's a huge health guy. He's a yogi. He does calisthenics. He does all kinds of breath work. He does lots of primal movements. He'll climb up mountains in all kinds of primal ways. He's really tuned into his health. And he reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and said, "Hey, I hear you've got one of these machines. My auntie uses one in Detroit. I know what it is. And any way I can help out," he's actually a pro photographer, but in a former life of his, he owned a building company. So he said, "Look, you give me some pulsing, and I'm happy to do a trade for trade." So I said, "Well, look, I'm just setting up, but your feedback would be invaluable." He had his first post-lockdown training session yesterday. He's into MMA as well, and he had a huge session. I mean, 2-hour, and he gave it 100%. And he walked in here today. A different guy to the one I saw on Friday when he was last here doing some photography work. He was like doubled up with pain, and I said, "Look, before we do anything else, let's get you on this system." 40 minutes later, and I asked him relative. So 1 being you can't feel anything in terms of comfort and fatigue. 10 being you can't even move. Where were you when you walked in? He said, "I was at 8. Yeah. I said, "Where are you now?" And this is after 40 minutes. And he said, "A 2 or a 3. I said, "No, you can't be." He said, I'm a 2 or a 3. And he's doing all these movements on his shoulder. He's sustained injuries as well. So he had a rotator cuff injury, dislocated wrist, dislocated knee surgery. And we just did some full body recharge using the full body contour bed. And then we also did some paddle work on his shoulders. And he's a different man in 40 minutes. And I said, "Have you ever come across anything that can do this?" And he said, "No." He said, "I'm going training tonight." I said, "Well, personally, I wouldn't." But he wouldn't have considered training until Wednesday. And it's now Sunday. We know that, but people may not be watching this in real time. So he said, "I'm going out training tonight." I'm saying, "Well, that's your choice, but personally, I wouldn't." So you tried, you were at HOS. I was in Japan then, so sadly I couldn't be there, but I'm going to be at the next one. What was your experience then, Daniel? I'm curious from...
I've been traveling and was like super tired, didn't sleep that well. And then they had it in the VIP area. So, I didn't know so much about it. I know about the technology, but I come here and lie here and tried it like for 20 minutes or something. And yeah, it was very, you could almost feel it. They cranked it up. You could almost feel that your muscles were twitching and stuff. But
Yeah.
then, I mean, after that, I felt like totally recharged, totally fresh. It was like a reset, you know? And yeah, of course, I came back a couple of times after that, and I was totally sold on it, actually. I was like, I think it was one of the best things they had at that summit. And that says a lot, I think, because they had a lot of interesting technology there and a lot of interesting things. But in terms, I like the word you said, like ROI. In terms of ROI, I think it was one of the most powerful things I've ever experienced, actually. So, I mean, it's great stuff, great stuff. Really nice people also from pulse centers, and yeah. It's really technology needs to get out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting for me, and it's also great for me to hear what you've said, and it totally resonates with me. And the few people that I've had so far, because I've not yet launched, but I've had a few people trial it, and we're testing all our COVID compliancy, and I'm making sure that everything is compliant. So I plan to launch on the 1st of June. Nice. And I'll be honest, the responses we've had from a wide range of people. So, at Pulse Centers we talk about, and this is how I've aligned my business. This is non-medical. I'm a studio, okay? I'm not a clinic. I'm not diagnosing anything. I'm not treating anything, and we're certainly not curing anything. What we are doing is recharging. And here's the interesting thing, again, and from a kind of a technical guy, a bit like myself, according to all the experts, we're around 100 trillion cells in the human body. And every single one of those cells is effectively a wet battery. With a cell membrane and a power pack in the form of a mitochondria. And I think it's probably a good idea as well to explain to the guys tuning into this that there are probably 3 types of PEMF and that you touched on. So you have the ISIS, which is the 9-volt battery, which is a really, really useful device. You have to use these low. I've got a couple. I've got an Oscar Pulse from Oscar Wellness. This was a light bulb moment for me when I bought that, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I have a device which is lower powered than that, little Omni medallion. It's 0.6 of 1 Gauss. It emits Schumann resonance, 7.8 hertz. The Oscar Pulse is 0.9 of 1 Gauss. This is not even 1 Gauss. And that emits a frequency variation from around 5 hertz to 150 hertz. The lower frequencies tend to be more effective on analgesic, so pain relief. And it's also probably worth mentioning that this is not to be confused with a TENS machine, which will really act on deadening the nerve function. So you're not feeling the pain. The underlying issue is still there. So this is not a TENS machine. You're not shocking the body. This is magnetic fields which pass through the tissue, including bone, cartilage, tendon, soft tissue, and with the pulse centers, go straight through the other side. You can even push it and pull it using various applicators. So this is not TENS, but these would be the devices I've spoken about, and the ISIS. These are low intensity PEMF. So they're all at the low end of frequencies. In other words, anything from 1 to around 120 to 150 hertz. This is super low end, bioresonant. Our bodies recognize and know what to do with them, as opposed to the super high end. But what we're talking about is the Gauss, the actual power and the voltage. So as we get to the machine that you just mentioned, that you experienced at the Health Optimization Summit, that is high intensity. So we'd be going from, and pulse centers don't talk about their Gauss levels. In my head, I kind of worked out roughly where they are. and they're right at the top. They're around, I think they're around, this machine I've got here is around 5 Tesla, so around 50,000 Gauss. So you imagine, I mean, I've got one here. This is an Oscar pulse. This is putting out less than 1 Gauss.
Yeah.
Low frequencies, but low energy. Now, when I first got this a couple of years ago, I had really, it's quite sickening, really, frozen shoulder pain. I was saunaing every day. I was cold shower. I was eating well, low inflammatory diet, sleeping as well as I could. But I had this increasingly nagging. And I was going for massage once a week as well. And I had this increasingly problematic frozen shoulder. That was the time I got this, because I'm looking for solutions. This was my first PEMF device. This is the early version. It only runs for 30 minutes and switches off. I've just switched it on now. You may see the lights pulsing on and off.
Yeah, yeah.
And I stuck this using the strap. I stuck it on my frozen shoulder, and I ran it permanently for 1.5 days. And a really interesting thing happened. The pain had gone. So you have to use these low intensity devices.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, I realized that too.
Yeah, and these penetrate much deeper than light. Than all of this is on the light spectrum. Okay, all of these frequencies, but the kind of light that we can see, and even the light that we can't see. So if you come here, you can use we have full red light rising, which is the brand that we use, infrared and red light, and we have target lamps as well, so we can target specific areas, but these do not penetrate right through the body. We have a clear light sauna, which is excellent. It's a very it's beautifully manufactured. I love it, and this thing's helped me beyond belief with my heavy metal issues, and putting me into out of my, I'm prone to being in the sympathetic nervous state, fight or flight. I can't not be in rest and digest 5 minutes into getting in that sauna. And I'm sure you guys know that in Sweden, you know.
Yeah, I love the sauna. I love the infrared sauna. I love the normal sauna also, but the one I use the most is actually the infrared.
Oh, really?
More convenient, you know.
Yeah.
I have one in my basement. We have a regular Finnish sauna, but you have to go and preheat it like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And can be pretty intense. Like you sweat for an hour after, but I mean, the infrared, you just go in it. It's hot after 5-10 minutes, and it's also a little bit different heating. It's almost like you get heated from the inside out instead of the normal sauna. It's from the outside in. It feels like at least.
Yeah. Well, you're heating I mean, I think a Finnish sauna, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that heats the air, which in turn heats you. And an infrared sauna penetrates the tissue.
Exactly.
And to my point, it does not, it penetrates deep, but it does not penetrate right through the body. So I'm using sauna, and that thing has worked wonders. And I've recommended and will continue to recommend all forms of sauna, because all sauna is good.
Yeah.
But the thing that really was mind-blowing for me, and this is why I have the core product that we do is PEMF, but to give those people that experience, that they can feel what is happening in real time. They can literally, you know, Ryan, who is here, the guy I mentioned earlier, the very first session I gave him, which was on, I think it was Friday, a couple of days ago, and he knows his body. He's an experienced yogi, and you know, these guys, they know that intimately, they know their body. And he got up off the bed, and we haven't even focused any energy particularly on one particular area. We just gave him a full body recharge, 20 minutes. And he sat up from the bed, and he went like this, and he said, "I don't believe it." And I said, "What?" He said, "It's not crunching." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you know, I said I had because I always ask a few questions, and we sign the disclaimer before they use the equipment." And he said he had a rotator cuff injury, quite a serious one. He said that always crunches. He said, it's not crunching. And he sat up and he stood up and he kept doing it. He said, that is incredible. So I said, well, let's actually now do some work and focus some work using the paddles, which are another applicator, on your shoulder. And I mean, 10 minutes later doing that, he had really interesting experience from him. So pulse centers, I like the way they frame their technology. This is a wellness technology.
Yeah.
This is not anything other than what it is, and this is cellular exercise.
Yeah.
So we spoke about those 100 trillion cells in your body. With the size and the intensity and the power of this system, we can deliver these low frequency pulses to your whole body in a short amount of time. First of all, it's very relaxing.
Yeah.
And we can use the frequencies to either energize ourselves. So if we were, you know, doing a presentation, a keynote, or anything like that, you could entrain your brain and energize your body using some higher frequencies in order to get that, what you explained before, that energized feeling.
Exactly.
Or equally, if you wanted to go down into almost a meditative state, a learning state, so the theta, the delta, into those sleep states, and even the deep sleep states in the delta frequencies, we can do that.
Yeah.
And we can do it with relatively small units, which we can position in certain parts of the body, or with the pulse centers equipment, the whole body, or really focus that. And the quality of the pulse as well is extremely high. And I noticed it. The effect stuck with me. How long did you feel so you had, did you say 20 minutes, Daniel?
Yeah. I don't remember, but I was crashed, and I had like, it was a reset, and I mean, it felt like it lasted almost all day. I didn't think so much about it anymore. I had a really bad morning, and I went there, and then my day was good. And then was the same thing the night again, because when you're traveling, you don't sleep. You want to hang out with people, you stay up late. So then it was just back first thing in the morning, lie on the pulse, and then got charged again. So I mean, it's pretty long lasting feeling. I don't know exactly in hours, but I mean, it was effective. Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, I mean, you're a healthy guy. You know, you can see by looking at you, you've done incredible things with your health and your wellness, and you're in good shape. And it tends, because people say, well, how long does this last? You know, if you do it, and how often have you got to do it? Well, it depends. It depends where you are. You're a healthy guy, and you had a short period of time. You weren't particularly focusing that energy on a particular issue.
Get energy and be able to yeah, traveling basically. I was tired, and then I got a good boost from it.
Fatigue, a tiny bit of jet lag because you're only an hour ahead, but that whole, I mean, it's interesting. You presumably flew over. So when we fly, that's the opposite of grounding.
Yeah.
And maybe this is a good time to talk about cellular voltage. So chronic disease and illness is defined by low cellular voltage. Where I had shoulder pain, you know, and this is not me again, these are the experts, these are the PhDs and the MDs who have studied this, and they measure cellular voltage with very specialist equipment. And they know that disease can be defined by a drop in cellular voltage. And when we use any form of PEMF, because this is very important to stress, all PEMF is good. People say, well, I've only got this little device. Use it, and use it a lot, and it is good. I've got this little Omni medallion. You know, if I switch that on, 7.8 hertz, you see it flashing.
Oh, nice.
Put that on my thyroid, or I can put
the Schumann resonance.
This is exactly, this puts Schumann resonance out, nothing else. It's 0.6 of 1 Gauss. I could put a glass of water on that, and that will the water.
Yeah, amazing.
So leave it 20 minutes, but all PMF is good, but some you are going to feel in real time, and the high intensity, and in particular the pulse centers, and then in particular within what they manufacture, the XL Pro, which is the one I have here. This is their top of the line, which I think you'll have experienced at Health Optimization Summit. This is military grade, the best of the best components. So this is military grade power supply units. Very, very reliable, and you can dial in with incredible specificity the energy within the pulse, the pulses per second, the time. You've got full control over that, as opposed to a lot of high-end systems which deliver a lot of energy. You lose the control, and these are the spark gap, the mechanical systems that people are familiar with. And this is an older technology, still again very, very good. But as you dial up the Gauss or the Tesla, if you dial that energy up, it is a mechanical necessity that the frequency is reduced. Okay, so you can only have, if you put more power input into the cells, you then tend to get this kind of deep tissue hammer effect. Now, sometimes that is good, but sometimes you may not want that. And on the XL Pro, being in a solid state, so this is digitally controlled pulse, so you have more specificity over it.
Yeah, but it's nice. I mean, it's supposed to help with ATP production. It helps with ion flow around the cells. It helps with blood flow, right?
You know about this. You've dug into the research, and you're absolutely right. So we don't treat anything, we don't cure anything, we don't diagnose anything. But what this does is we're applying energy into the blood cells, and one of the main benefits of the low-powered systems, and this tends to be what they claim, they increase blood flow, as you've just mentioned. They increase, and it's not just blood flow in the arteries, it's actually blood flow within the capillaries. These are tiny, tiny blood vessels. We have miles of them in the human body. I forget the number. But as we get older and our blood becomes kind of sticky, the platelets stick together, it's called a rouleau effect. It's like coins all stacked up. And some of these capillaries are so tiny and small in diameter that they can only allow one red blood cell through them at any one time. And if you go on YouTube or PubMed and look at the studies on this, and you can actually see the videos from these studies, 7 or 8 minutes on a low intensity body mat, or if you're applying this to a particular part, let's say my hand, and if you were to do one of these real-time filming, I don't know how they do it, it's with X-ray, and they can actually see, and all of a sudden you see the separation of the cells, of the blood cells, so they become more pliable, they become more viscous, and all of a sudden blood starts to flow in areas it's perhaps not flowed for in years. And of course, with blood flow comes oxygen. Exactly, you mentioned it before. So we have the PEMF is a giant tool. All of these things are tools. This is a giant tool for increasing blood flow, circulation, oxygenation, and then onto the other point you mentioned, ATP production, the whole Krebs cycle, this miracle of evolution, of how we produce energy and mitochondrial function, and even mitophagy, the formation of new mitochondria. So really, I like the analogy of our bodies were a bit like a mobile phone. When we're new
beings,
Yeah, we're electrical. We monitor our brain with an EEG.
Exactly.
The heart. You go into hospital, ECG on the heart, people know we forget it, but we are electric.
Yeah. I think they were into it in the early 1900s. They were a lot into like Tesla and everything, and then along came chemistry and pharma, and somehow got lost on the way. So I mean, it's really
You're
good.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And in parts of Europe, so Czech Republic, Poland, Switzerland, this technology. I have a medium intensity system. It's called Biomag. It's excellent. This is a medical grade system, and it's used in hospitals. Personally, I don't like. I'm not pitching what I do in any way. There, we're exercise. This is a gym. You come in here. This is a gym for your cells.
That's nice.
And all we're doing is applying energy. And whether you use our sauna, whether you use our red light, our infrared light, this is increasing mitochondrial function. You were just charging your cells, and like the battery we mentioned, when you get a new phone, that's like when you're young, you have cellular voltage is high. You cut yourself, cell voltage change to regenerate, to repair. But as we get older, a bit like the blood gets thicker and less efficient, as we get older, our mitochondria, with the world around us, with the concrete jungles and less than optimal diet and epigenetics, how are we made, our microbiome, how healthy are we? Our mitochondria suffer. We deplete energy quicker, and we take longer to charge up.
Yeah.
Everybody, when they go camping, they go in the woods, they go in the wilderness, they go to the beach on holiday, we sleep better, we feel more relaxed. We you mentioned about vagal tone. Our vagal tone is better. We are taken out of fight or flight and pushed into rest and digest, the parasympathetic state. And sauna, PEMF, red light do that. And PEMF, especially high intensity, is a giant in those particular areas. You can feel it working. Another thing, I mean, I'll ask you, Daniel, you may or may not recall, how did you sleep the night that you used the high intensity system? Can you remember?
I cannot really say that, because we were like out after the summit, partying, and coming home late and waking up after only sleeping 3 or 4 hours. But
awesome. Who were you with?
I think I have to come over and try it for real. Maybe stay for a couple of days and like have a real experience, because it's very hard to my experience, was quite hectic. You're traveling, you're meeting a lot of nice people, you're having so much fun, and sleeping only a couple of hours, then you're like destroyed. I know that it helped me a lot. I mean, doing one session per day there was amazing. So I mean, be my guest to come over here. You're welcome to stay, and we'll do you can have the full biohacker package, because we can of course stack this. I'm stacking it with nootropics. I'm stacking it with you can do some hydrogen, molecular hydrogen. I was doing some blue carnitine earlier on. I'm working every day at the moment. I have to be super productive. This is a startup, so I have to be on it. But at the same time, my sleep quality, since I've been using, again, all PEMF, if it's a full body system, it will improve your sleep. These are almost guarantees. You'll increase circulation and your sleep will improve. But on the higher intensity systems, I mean, since I've had this system, I have had incredible deep sleep. My REM has been slight bump, but my deep sleep I've got a third boost according to my Aura data, which for me is huge, because I do not have good genetics for deep sleep. I'm prone to less sleep than the average person. So I have to work at it. And this, I just lay on it, and one of the many benefits, I have a great night's sleep. Yeah, but it's like you say also, you recreate nature in a way. And because we live outside of that environment, it's like coming back. And of course, you will probably get a good response from the body. I mean, magnetic fields are pretty natural. Like, like you talked about grounding and everything. I mean, we're supposed to have those. Yes, like
Yeah,
we lost it.
absolutely. Yeah, that's what I love. That's what I love about all of this. You know, the infrared. You know, that's something we should be getting all day, every day. We should be experiencing red light at sunrise and at sunset. But now most of us don't. I can experience it with my wet from my house, sunset, but not sunrise. It's at the other side of the house. I don't have particularly great access. So by the time it hits me there, it's around 8:30 a.m. and it's lost most of the infrared frequencies. Again, have a great effect on our circadian rhythm, on production, formation of serotonin, and building that, and the conversion into melatonin at night. And again, these are all things I kind of consciously work at, or probably don't consciously think. It's just part of my routine now. But we can use these modern technologies to recreate, and in very therapeutic doses. And our body takes them for what they are. Hey, I recognize this energy. I recognize this frequency. So these are extremely safe technologies. It's very, very safe. There's hardly any contraindications for PEMF. And they have a wide range of uses. You know, people say, well, will it help with this? Will it help with that? You know, my dad's got this. My dog has that. Well, you know, the answer is, well, has it got mitochondria?
Yeah.
Has it got cells? Does it have cells?
But true. I mean, like it's like energy. More energy. There is more energy for everything.
Yeah.
Like everything is about energy. So you need energy to repair. You need energy to recover. You need energy to be creative, to be happy. So I mean, more energy is always better. I don't think you can get too much of it, actually.
No, absolutely. It does. The secret of life is energy and frequency. And I think Albert Einstein said that in I can't remember what decade, but it was a while ago. And these guys knew. You know, Linus Pauling, you know, he 2 Nobel Prize winner. Well, I think one of 6 people ever to obtain 2 Nobel Prizes, said PEMF we'll see a huge shift in the space of health and wellness. And you know, these people knew. Nikola Tesla, as you say, one of the pioneers in vibration and frequency, and I think Rife as well. You know, with Rife machines. And as long as we're operating at frequencies that resonate with biology. And I mentioned before about dogs. I mean, if I had a dog in the room, and I have done this, and you know, I've recommended many devices. People contact me all the time about, you know, I'm thinking of buying one of those machines you were talking about. Well, what are the issues? Oh, I've got this, that, or the other. Well, then maybe a better device for you. But usually when they'll make a decision and choose something, they'll contact me and say, do you know, my dog is all over this device. My cats go either side of it and push me off the bed. Pulse centers have a huge division on equine, on horses. And you speak to these, the practitioners who are working with these, they see the box coming with the practitioner, and they know what is coming, because they're about to have some releases in their body. Their joints feel better, they have more energy, and they'll run around. I watch these things every day on Instagram. You watch a horse that's just had high intensity PEMF, it goes crazy afterwards. If you've got an old dog, it acts like a puppy for several days after it's been exposed to these frequencies. There's no placebo there.
Yeah, exactly. So you're gonna open up your business for the public in June, you said, right?
Yeah, I can't keep it all to myself. So yeah, we're a studio, so it's exactly what it is. It's you know, this is not a clinic. This is for most people. As I said before, there are some contraindications whereby we would say, well, PEMF is not suited. They're very, very few and far between. So it's something that people can come in. It's casual atmosphere in here. This is not a clinical environment. You know, it's t-shirts and it's you know, caps and jeans, and it's relaxed. So I have, I mean, you were talking before about ion exchange. You know, the water. So I'm a biohacker, so I can't help it. But you know, glass. This is tap water, which I put through. I use an AquaTrue, so all of the water served here is filtered RO. So that this is a countertop as well, so there's no bacteria on one of these under counter. This is a super clean water filtration system. Purifies it. We then remineralize with fulvic acid and 74 trace minerals.
Wow.
I then structure the water, and this particular one I will carbonate it then, so you can have, this is, for me, this is the ultimate mineral water, because, and this works hand in hand. This will supercharge the PEMF experience because of that ion exchange. So we're removing the high intensity PEMF, and again, this has been much written about in the science, that when we give the body these super high intensity quick frequencies to the body, cell permeability immediately happens. We get a detoxing of the cell, and we get increased oxygen and ions into the cell. So this is a great combination. We also filter the everything in here is EMF harmonized. I'm using Blue Shield. So we have clean water. We have clean clean power in here. You may be able to see the lamps just above here. So this is halogen lighting. I've had the switchgear adjusted so we can take this down to a tiny candle light if required. We can take it up or down because our bodies recognize that lighting. It's not LED, there's no flicker. We recognize it as fire. So again, it doesn't mess with our biology. We have purified air. So I have a really sophisticated air purification system. We have negative ions. It feels nice. I mean, people walk in, oh, it feels nice in here. What have you done with this water? The guy said to me yesterday, have you put lemon in that? I said, no, that's how water should taste. That's unbelievable. So it pairs really nicely, as does the low EMF environment. So it's a relaxed environment. We're doing 20-minute sessions or 40-minute sessions. Within that, we could either give someone a full body recharge for that whole time, or what I like to do is, let's say we do 12-minute full body recharge. Then let's do some spot sessions where we can apply using one of the 5 accessories that come with the Pulse Center's equipment. So we have the full body contour bed, which is very relaxing. I can perhaps show you actually.
Yeah, do that, please.
If I reposition so we can see maybe just behind me.
Yeah, you got the bed and yeah, nice.
Yeah, we have this thing behind here is the bed. This is a work of art. I mean, Ben Greenfield calls this whole system the Cadillac of PEMF, the King Daddy of PEMF, and he's written extensively about it in his new Boundless book and spoken quite a lot about it. And he has his own system, and he didn't get it given. Let's just say that. He knows how good this thing is, and that's incredibly comfortable before you even switch it on. So your head is supported, your neck is supported, and then we have this curve. You see this curve here, which just very gently just opens up the vertebrae of the spine, so we can further and more easily apply the magnetic fields to the spine, and then it raises, and you can see perhaps behind this chair. It then actually goes higher, so your legs are actually flat but higher than your heart. That whole venous flow return, which is very good. So this is so comfortable, and we can charge every cell in your body in a short space of time. We also have the rocker. So this is perhaps the second of the accessories. This is the rocker. Packs a real punch. I mean, you can turn this thing up So you're getting like deep tissue in your whole upper and through your thighs, your lower back, your glutes, your neck. And again, this is very relaxing. This also has a footstool. The footstool uses something called a square pad. So this is multifunctional. We can take the square pad, which is one of the higher intensity devices, if we wish to dial it up such. And we can put this to the front of the body. We can put it on the heart. We can put it to the thymus if we wanted to, to boost immunity. We can put it around the liver area, the gut, to regulate gut function, constipation, loose bowel. PEMF regulates tissue. It normalizes cells and tissue. So we just put the power to the body, and the body does the rest. Your body knows what to do with it. So, I say to people, look, you may have told me you've got this, that, or the other, and we may take a note of particular things because I'm interested in contraindications, but I'm not going to do anything. This machine is not going to do anything other than give you energy to your body. Your body's going to do the work.
Yeah, of course. It's like a lack of energy, and stressed state, then you won't repair. But if you can revert that, give more energy and get into that good, relaxed state, then you have a lot of possibilities to heal.
Yeah, I can just go and get the paddles if you want me to show you the paddles. So we have paddles. This is another one of the applicators, one of the accessories.
They put those on my head last time.
Oh, okay. You did the Princess Leia.
Yeah.
Either side of your head, yeah.
Really good stuff.
These are really versatile accessory that we use, and again, we plug them into the machine. We can dial up as much magnetic field strength and frequency as we like, but we can either double pad these, so blue to the body, so we're kind of doubling up. Again, I could move this around. I could sweep the body. Areas of low cellular voltage, we get what we call a hot spot. That's all we call it. This is just a hot spot. What does that technically mean? Well, actually, the science behind it, you've got low cellular voltage. With me, my Achilles heel, if you will, are my shoulders. The first sign of inflammation with me, my shoulders are sore. So that is my Achilles heel. So if I put these around here, and the first thing that lit up with me when I sat on this, I could feel the energy going to my shoulders. And high intensity PEMF, you can feel it working, and you can feel it working in the areas that need it, and the energy will go. It's a bit like water. It will find that point of low resistance. Or an analogy I like is those cells are like dry sponges as opposed to a wet sponge. If you were to throw them into a bath of water, then the dry sponge, which is the cell with low voltage, that's going to soak it up, and you're going to kind of feel it. So we can sweep around and, oh, that's a bit sore. Okay, well, you and I know this is an area of, anything happened there? Yeah, 10 years ago I had an issue, or like Ryan said, I've got a rotator cuff issue. Straight away he felt it there. It felt good, and the more we applied energy to that region, it felt better and better, because the body's doing what it will do with that energy. So these are very versatile. You can even split these, as you did with the head at HOS.
Yes.
Princess Leia. Or, I like to use these on shoulders. So we can put these around the shoulder. And the one behind there is pushing the magnetic pulses forward. And then this one here, because of the polarities, got the blue here and the blue here, this will pull it through. So we're passing it straight through, ultra short voltages, totally harmless, but with lots of nice side effects. And then we also have the rings, which are a bit like this. These are the 6-inch rings. They're one of the most powerful accessories, and they're around 4 times the magnetic field strength of the rings. So we tend to use those on parts of the body that that enjoy more energy. So the less, nothing with muscle in, these would be extremities such as hands, ankles, elbows, great for tennis elbow. You can put them around, and again, you can either put your hand through or your arm through them, the middle of them, or you can wrap them around like we've done here with this. So personally, the development that Paul Centers have done on this equipment, they've gone to town on it. Paul Webb, the founder, some people may know his story. He suffered with really debilitating pain as a result of numerous very unfortunate accidents or incidents, which just left him in pain to the point of suicide. And he was searching everywhere. He came across a device called a PEMF, which was probably the first high-intensity PEMF device. I don't know whether you've heard of it. And he used it, and back in 2016, he had the first night's sleep with no pain he could remember.
Wow.
And he said, look, I'm putting all my chips in. This is me. I'm an entrepreneur. The guy was a serial entrepreneur. And he just focused entirely on PEMF. And now in 2020, they have an incredible range of PEMF equipment, which practitioners and businesses such as myself, we can take advantage of and deliver this wellness technology to our communities. So this is studio number 1.
Yeah.
And my vision is to energize life. And I don't just want to do that in this one studio. It's to grow this model, get it absolutely right, and to grow this as quickly as we can into other cities and locations in UK and in Europe.
That sounds awesome. I mean, it's needed. I mean, especially in these times. I mean, it's more essential than ever, I think.
I think so, and I think, you know, we started off speaking about the current situation, and I think I'm a big believer in looking on the good side of a bad situation. You know, that kind of whole serendipity, serendipitous side of something bad. Okay, well, what good can we come out of that? Yeah, what are the silver linings?
Yeah.
Well, if after all of this, and it is bad, let's face it, everything from every single aspect, it's bad. You know, people are dying, and people are frightened, and people are dying as a result of the fear, and people are, the economy is tanking, you name it. I mean, this is a modern disaster.
Yeah.
If this stimulates debate and positive action about our resilience, our ability to deal with a novel virus, which this is nature, this is evolution, this is what we do. And you know, if we cut ourselves, or we get a cold, our immune system fights it. And I know you know about all this, but if this opens up a debate for why is this having such an impact, and perhaps what can we do in order to give ourselves more resilient, to build immunity, to deal with a virus in a way that we are designed to, as opposed to it causing a cytokine storm and trashing an organ in our body, and we die as a result. So I'm trying to, as I said at the start, stay really focused on my mission and vision, my passion and my purpose, bring this to market, and then in a non-medical way, you know, this is wellness technology, this is cellular exercise. If people benefit from that, then I'm a lot happier about that than I was helping one of these brands sell more cars into China.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, this is what you love. You've been doing this for quite a while, so it's really fun to see that you actually like pulled the trigger and did this. I mean, it's quite amazing. It takes some courage also, right? Just changing everything and doing this. I mean, it's really impressive.
it's a huge pivot for me. I do like to think. I mean, with my health and wellness, I'll be honest, I wouldn't be here now if I hadn't taken the route I did. I was twice in hospital with esophageal cancer, and that is as terminal as anything apart from pancreatic. If you get that, then it's a painful, long, painful death. I had no option but to find another solution, because after 30 years of doing everything I could do, and I went at it diligently. What I was told to do, I did it to the T. It did not work for me. Now, I'm not saying that that's bad, and anyone. My recommendation always is tell your doctor what you're doing. Any contraindications, please go back to your doctor. I have the utmost respect for that, especially on the acute side of modern medicine. But for my chronic conditions, at least, I did not find the solutions. And where I did find solutions was in going back to nature, stepping outside the door when I wake up, getting an adequate and safe amount of daylight on my body, eating real food that my body knows how to assimilate and how to build a human being. And people go to me now, how old are you? What do you put on your skin? How often are you eating? And I give them the answer, I not a lot, really.
Once or twice, I guess.
Pardon?
Once or twice per day, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah, I am. I eat either once or twice. Yes. I eat within a narrow. I eat when I'm hungry. If I'm not hungry, I won't eat. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I think, well, I'm not hungry. I'm going to leave it till tomorrow.
Yeah, no problem, right?
And every now and then I'll do an extended fast. I'm not doing it at the moment because it's a hormetic stressor, possibly one too many. So, but I am daily intermittent fasting. Again, this is getting much more commonplace, and doctors in the UK like Michael Mosley has done a lot to talk about the importance of fasting. Personally, I'm not a fan of the 5-2 and the eat a small amount of calories. I think it's easier not to eat any calories.
Exactly. I do the same.
But it's not as easy to sell. I mean, if I wanted to sell a book in the UK, it's easier to say, oh, you can have something, but not quite as many. Well, actually, it's easier not to eat anything. If you're not eating, just don't eat.
Yeah. I saw you put up a picture of you, or two pictures, like a before and after picture. I mean, you made a quite amazing journey, right? I saw a picture was it on Instagram, right? A couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, thanks. It's tends to be what most people. I think a picture doesn't lie, does it? I mean, this is how we are feeling at the time, and it does speak 1,000 words. So you see a photograph of somebody who is in daily pain, who is not sleeping, who has chronic illness, and is gradually, day by day, is running out of hope. And especially when you're, carrying a piece of paper into a hospital for a scan that says suspected esophageal cancer or something equally profound, then I had no option but to do something. My mentor, I approached him several months ago and just said, look, I'm thinking of doing this. And his response to me, and he's much older and wiser than I am, and he just said, Pete, you haven't got an option in this. The way that your journey, because he saw me at the start of it, and then he saw me 1 month into those changes, and he opened the door and he just said, come in, sit down and tell me what you have done. He's an acupuncturist, very, very experienced. He's written 7 books on the subject. Wow. And he said to me, I have never seen a client in 30 years of practice who has taken on their disease. So I took it on. I'm bloody minded and determined, but I had no option. And the impact in, the before and after says it all.
Yeah, it really does, and I mean it's amazing. And now we're trying to contribute and give something back. I mean, and use your knowledge and share it with others. I mean, it's great.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, I mean, same with you. And we're always learning and bouncing off each other and learning. Oh, what are you
That's what
doing
it's
now?
about,
Or,
I
"That's
think.
interesting." Yeah, I think we have a mutual friend, Morris, over in Canada. And, you know, I'm looking at what he's doing, and countless other people in this space. This is a great thing about now with this technology. Yes, it gives out all this electro smog, which is not great, but we can mitigate that.
But it connects.
And yeah, without the internet, I genuinely do not think I would be here. In fact, I'm
Yeah,
pretty certain.
it's true. It was only, this information was only for privileged people before. Now it's out there for everyone. All the
Yeah.
studies are there, everything are there. You can do your own research. I mean, it's quite amazing times we live in. Even if that, as you say, we get sick from it also, all the technology. It's has its pros and its cons.
Pros and cons. And yeah, you know, so that's it. I mean, I couldn't sit on this. For one, people who knew me asked me, like, what are you doing? Tell me, because I feel awful. So I want you to help me. So it's hard trying to explain to a dozen people a day that oats are not good for them. You know, porridge in the morning isn't great. I'm just going to plug my power in. The screen's just dim. One second.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that conversation, Daniel, as I'm sure you've had many times.
Yeah. Still having them, especially about
as
the
worthwhile as
in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm having yogurt and porridge and fresh orange juice. Having that conversation, because I am a primal health coach, and you know, having that conversation a dozen times a day is not. It's quite wearing. But if I can give somebody the energy and the motivation through listening to my journey or seeing a picture, which is how a lot of people approach me, and it gives them the motivation for me to point them in the right direction. Look, here's a great book on this. Here's a great person on Facebook on that. Here's a great mentor for you, or a great podcast for you. And it's what we've done. But if we can point people in that right direction, then that fits with my priorities now, which is, look, I'm well into my 50s. I don't want to waste time anymore on something that's not working. Knowing what I know, I can't think of anything I'd rather be doing. It was a big leap. This technology is not cheap. It's an investment. It's one I personally am benefiting from, but I wouldn't necessarily, this is a budget way over anything else I've spoken about. But the result that people obtain from it is profound. So, and it's also something that I firmly believe is right for me to do. And a few years ago, I'm thinking, oh, you know, just making it through the day was hard. And every day I'm thinking, how long until I'm retired? I'm not thinking, I'm retired.
Your mic, now it's back. Something happened with your mic.
Oh, okay.
Now
Can you hear me? Yeah. So I was just explaining that when I was sick, I was just looking forward to the day ending so I could go back to bed again. Not that I slept well, but it was better than being awake. And also to the day I retired, thinking, how soon can I retire and it be done with it? Now I don't want to retire. I've got my energy back to where I feel I was in my mid to late teens before I got sick. I've got much more strength and resilience than I had in my early teens. I know that. And I'm thinking, I just want to do this as long as I can. This machine I bought is built to last 80 years. So it's designed and built to last the lifetime of a practitioner, of a human being. So that machine's going to outlive me. But whilst I'm around, I want to be using that and others, many others, and taking this modality to a new market, with the first UK pulse center and with the first dedicated pulse center in Europe.
Amazing.
And as soon as I can, I'm looking to grow that model as quickly as possible.
So if people want to find you or reach out to you, how can they find you?
Sure. So they can contact me. Probably an email is one of the easiest routes. That's pete@pemfit.co.uk. I'm reasonably well known on Instagram. I've had a kind of like a blog page for a few years, which is how we connected. So I was Functional Pete.
Yeah.
I've changed that. I've renamed it to PEMFiT Pete. That's PEMFiT_Pete. And then the company is at PEMFiT UK. So all one word, at PEMFiT UK. And then we have Facebook, and I'm setting up a YouTube channel because I want to do some kind of educational videos. Look, here's someone, or maybe testimonials. Seeing people on the equipment. How did it feel before? How did it feel after? What are your experiences? So
I will put also all the contacts in the show notes, so people can reach out to you.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't say it at the start. Thank you so much for having me on. It's we've spoken a few times, and it's really good to connect. And do you know, one of the things I was really looking forward to meeting you and the rest of the Biohacking Collective in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And I think we even spoke about it, you know, because you invited me over to Helsinki last year. And at the time, I think I was in China.
Or Japan, I don't remember, but you were traveling. You've been traveling.
So, yeah, for 4 years I've been living out of a suitcase, and again, you know, I had to keep on top of my health, you know, because that takes it out of you, as you know. It was pretty relentless, but I couldn't get there then, and I really wanted to go to the Helsinki. But it's one of my big regrets in this is not connecting, getting over there, meeting with you and the rest of the guys. So if you're at the Health Optimization in London,
yeah, hope to
that'd
come.
be great.
Right? If
Yeah.
everything fixes itself with this Corona crisis, I hope to be there in when is it? In October?
It's September. It's
September.
yeah, I think it's the second week in September. So I'll be there. I've got my ticket, and
yeah, I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll have some Pulse Centres equipment there as well. I don't work for Pulse Centres. I'm one of their practitioners, but I know them well, and you know, I have a system here. And anytime you want to come over, Daniel, you've been more than welcome. Stay, be my guest. We'll sauna. We'll go in the sea. We'll do some cold shower. We'll eat some good food.
That's amazing, man. So I'm super grateful that you wanted to join me. So,
absolutely.
Thanks a lot.